Okay, let's move on to week 13. It's our last regular season week of the season. We will be drafting our top games to watch again. I have the first pick this week, and it's really easy. I'm just going to the game. It's Ohio State at Michigan. Michigan favored in this game by 3.5 points. Ashton, do you have any expectations in this game? Because I thought I did earlier in the season, and now I feel like I don't know what to expect, and I'm staying away from it in the locks. Spoiler. So
Me as well. Yeah, I'm also staying away from it. Michigan's a team that I have picked the last 2 years in this game. I've been all over that. Ohio State's offense is not very good, but their defense is way better than I thought it would be.
yeah,
Um, Michigan's offense isn't as good as I thought it was a month ago, but we know that they can get after the passer. So again, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not taking anything on this in the locks. I'll just be letting it. I'll be enjoying it. I'm gonna watch
yeah,
every minute of
for
this football
sure.
game. But yeah, I mean it's a playoff game pretty much. Like
Mm-hmm.
the loser of this game's probably not in. What did you said you had a thought of what did you think earlier in the year? Like where were you leaning early in this year before you saw it all on kind of fold out?
Earlier in the year, I was thinking that Michigan would beat Ohio State by a touchdown or more. Like there was a little stretch there where we were really down on Ohio State's offense,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it's still not great, but it feels like they've patched it together with duct tape, but just enough that they're just effective enough. And riding that along beside a really good defense this year, like a really stout front seven for sure. Like I don't know, man. And that coupled with the fact that Michigan's offense hasn't looked all that great the last couple weeks. Yeah, it leaves me just kind of waiting to watch the game and hoping both teams lose, quite frankly. But yeah, I don't have a strong feel about what happens in that game.
Is there a difference with Harbaugh not being on the sidelines? Like he's not a play caller, so in
Right.
that way you're not really missing much. But he does bring a lot. Like I think his presence means something to that Michigan team. Clearly,
Well, he's called these games. He's made in-game decisions for years and years at this point. He's done it in the Super Bowl. So yeah, he adds a little something. It's not play calling necessarily. It's more just some of the decision making throughout the game. So it is a factor, I think. It's a small factor, but yeah, it's not zero.
so neither of us have this in the locks. But like straight
No.
up, you're leaning who? Who's going to win?
If I had to pick somebody, I'd probably say Michigan. The game is in Ann Arbor, so I'll take
Mhm.
them to win. 0% confidence. What about you?
I might take Ohio State. Like
Hmm.
I might. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's a coin flip game.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel better about Ohio State. I think Ohio State's defense might be the best of any of the four groups. And imagine saying that a year
Yeah,
ago. That's
right.
crazy. So, like, there's a world where Ohio State comes out and shuts down Michigan's run attack. Like, there's a world where that absolutely happens because they have NFL players up front. Ohio State does, and if they do that, we haven't seen McCarthy just be on fire the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're a little bit banged up at receiver. Like there's a world where Ohio State shuts down Michigan and makes this a game. This does not Ohio State does not want to get in a shootout with Michigan. Again, imagine saying that a year ago, but Kyle McCord's not that guy. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think McCord can come out and put up 45 points and beat Michigan.
Right.
He can't do what Max Duggan did in the playoff a year ago. But that's fine. That's fine. You're just going to be a different team. Like you're just going to have to go about things differently, try to run the ball more. Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic watch. I would maybe lean Ohio State just to go in and pull an upset. I think Michigan misses Harbaugh more than what people say.
By the way, I said I'm staying away from this game in the locks. I'm staying away from the spread. I may have a play elsewhere. So
Okay,
just floating that out there. All right, Ashton, you got the number 2 pick here. Where are you going next?
so it's the only other game that was really in that had a ranked on ranked matchup. Frankly, and it's not quite top 10. Oregon State, that a loss drops them out, but Oregon State's a fantastic game.
Yes.
8:30. This is on Friday, actually, so don't get fooled. This is not a Saturday game. We have that long kind of extended Thanksgiving weekend of football. So 8:30 p.m. on Fox. Oregon State. Oregon's favored by 13.5. That seems high. It's at home for them. That's a very high number. Oregon has been covering spreads very well, though. So I think this one's going to be closer. Like, I would lean Oregon State to at least cover. I'm not sure if they went outright, but I think Oregon State won this game a year ago. Like, they went out and just beat Oregon. So yeah, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if that happens this year. I think they do cover.
That's the easy pick. How often have we said that the Civil War there is the second best game of rivalry weekend? But it's not even particularly up for debate, I would say. Like, that is absolutely the number 2 game.
Right.
This is Oregon State's last game as part of the Pac-12 as we know it. And man, they could really just go out with a bang. Like, they could really throw a wrench into everything this year. Everyone views Oregon as, by the way, Washington is the only team that has clinched a spot in the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah,
Oregon has to, well, they don't have to win this game, but they need some things to happen if they don't win this game. So
right.
Yeah, this could be huge. I expect a tight game for sure. The spread 13.5, which was a little surprising to me, but yeah, absolutely the right pick here, Ashton. For the next game, this is where it gets a little tighter, but I think I have a clear number 3 pick here. I'm going Florida State at Florida. Yeah. Florida State needs the win to stay in playoff contention. Florida needs the win to go bowling this year and just feel a lot better about their program, hold together that recruiting class, which is really good at this point, but there's some potential for that thing to fall apart a little bit. Georgia recently flipped a guy from their class. So to me, this just feels like a really fun game in the swamp Saturday night. I want to watch this game for sure.
The spread on this game came out as Florida State at 11.5 point favorite. I've said for a couple of weeks, I think this game's a close football game. Even with Jordan Travis, this is a close game. This is in the swamp, night game. Florida playing for everything, like playing for postseason vibes, playing for a bowl game, playing to keep your recruiting class together. The coaches need this one. I thought it was going to be close. That number has went from 11.5 Sunday afternoon when it came, Sunday morning when it came out. It's now down to Florida State at 6.5. Like, that is a significant chop of a line, and you've seen a lot of money come in on Florida. So it was going to be an absolute lock at 11.5, one of my locks of the week. At 6.5, like that hurts a little bit. Like, right. I would still maybe lean Florida, but man, that's a steep price to pay for a team that's 5-6 against an undefeated team. So yeah, I agree with you here. I think it's going to be electric, like that atmosphere. And I got to go to a Florida night game this year, and it was awesome. Like, every part of it was just sweet. It was very enjoyable. It's an underrated place there, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. So
sure.
Yeah, great pick. Love that pick. This one I'm going to go to the Iron Bowl. I'm going to go to Alabama, Auburn. Alabama favored by 14.5. This game's in Jordan-Hare, which I think we need to just kind of belabor that point. Auburn did not look good this past week. They did not look good. Alabama just got to cruise over a bad Chattanooga team. Chattanooga is not very good at football, and Alabama's pretty solid, and they beat up on them. I think Auburn has a bounce back week and keeps this one close. I'm not going to bet on this one because I think Alabama could open it up maybe in the second half. I think this game stays close for a while. I really do. I think Hugh Freeze, he's beaten Nick Saban a couple of times already. I think he does well. And you've seen that. You've seen like teams coached by Hugh Freeze, especially when they're like a big underdog, like you saw when Auburn played Georgia this year. They put it all out there, man, and they let it go. They don't hold any bullets back. So I'm expecting a close game. That's going to be my the number 4 pick for me.
If this game was on a neutral field, it feels like it'd be Alabama by 25. But
yeah,
there's just a certain magic about Jordan-Hare Stadium and the Iron Bowl and what Auburn can do against Alabama, even though they're clearly worse than them. Like, It's a little scary. I think I might have a play on it later, but man, this is one of those that it just kind of messes with you. And regardless of what happens afterward, you're probably like, well, I should have seen that coming, and you're going to be
Right.
wrong. Like,
Right.
yeah. Okay, for my next pick, I've got two games in mind here. I'm going to I want to stay in the Pac-12 where I was with my last pick. Sorry, no, you got the Pac-12. You got the Civil War. I'm going to the Pac-12. I'm taking the Apple Cup. I'm going Washington State at Washington. Washington favored by 16.5. They need this game probably to stay in playoff contention. They're going to the Pac-12 title game regardless. They can still win the Pac-12. But Washington State is going to bring everything here. They want nothing more than to upset Washington's perfect season. Now, props to these two schools. They did announce that they are playing another 5 years at least. So they extended the series even though they will no longer be in the same conference. So I like that. I like that we still have the Apple Cup going forward. This is the last one where they're conference rivals. So something a little special there, especially with Washington having an undefeated season. So I want to watch this game.
Really good, good job, I think, of like we need to watch the last games of the Pac-12 as we know it.
Yeah.
Oregon State and Washington State, their future is very undecided. Like I think it's wild how much no one knows. Like no one knows what's going to happen to those guys, in the coming months. So yeah, it's kind of the end of an era, and there will be no more Pac-12 after dark. That ended last week, and so like all the games end at like 8, or they start at 8:30, which isn't it's not Pac-12 after dark until it's at least 10, right?
Yeah.
So my Pac-12 after dark is gone now, and that is very sad. The conference is breaking up. That's sad. So yeah, we do need to watch it, soak in this last little bit, the last really full Saturday that they have.
Yep.
So. All right, that moves it on to me. I'm going to go to Kentucky. Kentucky versus Louisville. This is at Louisville. Louisville's favored by a touchdown, 7 points even. It's at noon on Saturday. Louisville still has an outside shot at the playoff. I mean, it's a way outside shot. It couldn't be a smaller sliver of the pie, but they do have a sliver, whereas most teams don't. So props to them. I think this game's close. I really do. Vegas has it as a 7-point game at home. So if this game's at Kentucky, that's what a pick 'em pretty much, like close to it, not far away at least. So yeah, I think this game is pretty close. I think Kentucky comes out to ruin their rivals' season and just kind of put a bitter taste in their mouth, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think this one stays close. I think it's going to be fun to watch too.
If this line was a pick 'em, you'd have to think about it, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that it's Louisville by 6.5 or 7 is interesting. Maybe more on that later, but I like that pick. That's definitely a game you want to watch this weekend for sure. Okay, with the 7th pick, I'm going to Texas. Texas Tech at Texas. Texas favored by 12.5. They also have a sliver of a chance at the playoff, a bigger sliver than Louisville, but they don't exactly control their own destiny. They do have the one loss this season. However, they could really improve their resume by stomping a pretty solid Texas Tech team. Tech, finally bowl eligible. A lot of people thought they were a sleeper for the conference this year. You and I didn't really fall for it. We were a little bit down as far as compared to some of the other people out there. But they're still a solid team. They're still a good team, and this is a chance for Texas to prove something. It's also a chance for them to finally crap the bed, which is what a lot of people have been expecting for a while.
Haven't we all just been waiting for that classic Texas game, which hasn't popped up for us this year? So yeah, full credit to them for not letting it pop up.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's one to keep your eye on. All right, so for me, I'm going to go to the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. It doesn't matter that Mississippi State's not that good. This is the Egg Bowl, man. Anything could happen, like literally anything. So it is absolutely must-watch television. It is so it's Thanksgiving night. Like it's a standalone college football game. It's Thanksgiving night on ESPN. And I would watch this over the NFL game that night. Mm-hmm. So absolutely. Yeah. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, I think it's a lot of fun. It's in Starkville. Ole Miss favored by 10.5. Mississippi State needs a win to get bowl eligible, which could be interesting. Yeah, given the fact that we don't really know where we're going with the coaching situation there for next year. So there's a lot of variables there. Also, Lane Kiffin, like, could he be on the move?
Right.
Like that's been rumored too. So there's a lot to watch. Something interesting will happen in this game. Just go ahead and write it down right now, because it always does. We can depend on the Egg Bowl for entertainment.
The Egg Bowl is maybe, like, as far as teams that I'm not personally a fan of, it might be my favorite rivalry in college football. It's just so much fun. I love that it's always on Thanksgiving, stands alone compared to other college games, and it's more entertaining than the NFL game, guaranteed. So watch the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving evening when you're snacking on leftovers. Just a fantastic game. We have no idea who's coaching either one of these two teams next year. We don't know how Mississippi State is going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that pick by you. That's just a great pick. All right, we're both down to one pick left, which is unfair because it's rivalry week and there's just so many great games. But for my last pick, I'm gonna have to go down to the Palmetto State. I'm taking Clemson at South Carolina.
Yep.
Clemson favored by 7.5. South Carolina needs this game to go bowling. Clemson needs this game to get revenge for the loss last year, which ended their playoff hopes. So, yeah, maybe lower stakes than sometimes are in this game, but it's Clemson, South Carolina. These two teams hate each other with a passion.
Right.
A lot of the players were recruited by both schools. The fan bases really hate each other. So, yeah, you just got to watch this rivalry.
Those are some of the best ones when there's not a whole lot to lose. Like neither one of these teams have just a whole lot to lose, but they have a lot to gain. Like this rivalry means a ton in state, like to those guys, to the recruits locally. It's a big deal. And South Carolina's recruiting, pretty well and have been. I guess my prediction that Shane Beamer might get fired at the end of this year kind of took a severe hit when he beat Kentucky this past weekend. So he's probably going to be staying there now. But and props to him for that. But yeah, I like that pick. I think it's solid. Any chance South Carolina comes out and wins that game? Like, what was that line again too? I'm not looking at it right now.
7.5 for Clemson. That's what I'm looking at.
You lean which way? Any chance you put a lock on Clemson there?
I mean, I guess there's a chance. I didn't really have it on my list. Clemson is definitely trending up, but South Carolina, like, a pretty decent win last week over Kentucky. And you know they want this game so badly. And this would send them to a bowl game.
Right.
My leaning would probably be Clemson. I'll say that. We'll talk about it later with the locks. I'm not sure if I'll have that as one of mine or not, but
okay. So last pick for me, and you're right. Well, there's a ton of good games, really interesting rivalries that we just leave off. And I'm currently between two Big Ten games. The one that I won't pick, and just going to be an honorable mention, is going to be Wisconsin, Minnesota. Old school rivalry, been going on for forever, right? That one's always a lot of fun. But I'm going to go Iowa, Nebraska. This is in Lincoln. Iowa's 9-2. They've already won the West. They have that tied up. Nebraska's 5-6, fighting for bowl eligibility. Nebraska's a 2-point favorite.
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all. The over-under for this game is now down to 26.5.
26.5.
We keep setting records for how low we go on these Iowa over-unders. And to be fair, they've continued to hit, right? You won one just this past weekend. 26.5, though, like, that's too low for me. It's too low. I think I'd probably bet the over from this one just on principle. But Nebraska favored by two points when they're 5-6 and Iowa's 9-2 doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It really doesn't. So I mean, something. Yeah, this is a game that you need to tune into. It's at noon on Friday, right? So we have like a Friday slate and a Saturday slate. This is noon on Friday. Just a good appetizer for all those Saturday games. That's what this one is.
I think I might disagree with you here. I think this is a game you check the score on. I would rather watch, for example, Texas
No,
A&M at LSU. I know that's
the
not the same
carnage,
time frame, but
the carnage is important here, though. I guess what I'm saying is that when it gets to this point, when the over under is 26, I've watched more Iowa football this year than I have in any year past. And it's not because they're scoring points, man. It's because they're not scoring points. So there are some of us just degenerates out there that just enjoy when it gets into a bit of a slugfest. So
sure.
and yeah, a slug is the appropriate way to describe the Iowa offense. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't need to be going after Brian Ferentz anymore. We've done that enough this
We're
past
done
year, but
now.
we're finished. It's over. This will be the last time. Well, no, we won't. We'll have the Big Ten championship yet, in a game that they'll
True.
just get boat raced in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, I obviously too many games that we can't pick them all this week. I'll just throw my honorable mention out there is Texas A&M at LSU. LSU favored by
Like that
11
one.
and a half.
I like
A&M
that one.
won that game last year weirdly. So, and you know that LSU is going to be again trying to get Jaden Daniels all the stats in the world. So